Like I knew that it wasn't right for me, but then now I've left it and now I don't have that and I feel lost.
Mm.
So now I'm stuck in this place of, well, I didn't want that and now I don't have it and I'm even feeling worse now, right? I love the inner work. Like I love working with healers. I love different modalities. I just know that there's so many different, I haven't even tried all of them. And
Yeah.
I just know there's like a big wide world out there of different ways to heal. And I'm so excited to just go on this journey of healing for life.
Hi, Thrivers. Welcome back to season 3 with Thrive with Sharon podcast. I'm your host, Sharon Land. I'm so happy to be here. I am a licensed holistic psychotherapist in the state of New Jersey and a metaphysician and a healer. And what I've done here with this podcast is it started very, very small about a year and a half ago. And all I wanted to do was to just bring people in front of you that can share stories about themselves and their own journeys and trials and tribulations towards success and being able to thrive. And today I've recently met an incredible human being. Her name is Kristine Munro, and she is absolutely like when you think of um, just beautiful, happy, bubbly, feminine, connected, just like the person who you just love having at a party. She's just such a wonderful conversationalist, but also a great connector. I have Kristine Munro here. Kristine, welcome so much. Welcome to the show, and thank you so much for coming.
Oh, Sharon, thank you. That was such a warm welcome. That made me feel all warm and cozy. So thank you.
Well, welcome. And Kristine, one of the things that I loved about you is that you're a seasoned entrepreneur and you've built multiple six-figure, um, businesses, and and seven-figure businesses, and you have worked in so many different areas of corporate as well as real estate. But the thing that I have found that I am most interested in with you is the fact that you really help to support entrepreneurs and women to be able to create deeper connections. And so the way that we met was by um, finding deeper connection with like-minded women and entrepreneurs. And I actually just recently went to one of your events, which was so beautiful. It was so, I loved it. I had a plane to catch right afterwards and I didn't want to leave. Talk to me a little bit more about that for you, and how did you get into entrepreneurship, and was that always the case?
Yeah, it's so funny you say that about how I got to where I am with creating like events and connecting with other women because for a big part of my life, I actually didn't do that. When I was in corporate and then went into entrepreneurship, I did it because my father was an entrepreneur. He
Mm.
also told me to get into finance and real estate because that's where you're going to make money. So that's where I headed towards. And I didn't do a lot of networking. I thought like, especially in like the finance and real estate world, it was very male dominated. Every time I felt like I was networking, it was very cold. I didn't feel a lot of connection there. So I just didn't
Mm.
do it. And so, yeah, my whole entrepreneurship journey kind of felt lonely. But I achieved and I climbed the corporate ladder and then I started my own business because I was taught or, I was conditioned to believe that I just needed to achieve, make lots of money in order to feel accepted. Even though I had done that and achieved all that, I still felt like something was missing. And so when we
Mm.
moved here I'm from Canada, and when we moved to the United States about 5 years ago for my husband's work, I thought, this is such a great way for me to start from scratch and do something for me that I want to kind of find myself and find something that I feel passionate about, but I didn't know what that was. And so what I needed was what I created was I needed to find people. I needed to find like-minded women. I needed to find a community because I didn't have that, especially moving to a new country, even of not knowing anybody. And
Mm-hmm.
so I set out to look for community, but I didn't really find any in Denver. And I started finding them outside of Denver. I was traveling to go to any communities that I could find. And once I knew how that really helped in supporting me and changed like my life and helping me from like starting from scratch and like losing my identity and trying to learn something new, I just wanted to create that for other women. So I created a community here in Denver for women entrepreneurs to help support them in their business, but also to help them grow personally as well.
I, which is no easy feat, by the way, especially to the level that, that I walked into. It was so well done in so many different ways. But I I'm what's resonating for me too is the fact that, for me in my business and how I serve is I created what I needed in my life, right? From the healing perspective and from the trauma perspective and all of those things. And so I really do think that sometimes necessity does breed invention.
Mhm.
And so from a post-traumatic growth standpoint, right? Like, or from a post um challenge growth standpoint, it's important for us to realize that just because we're experiencing or like working our way through some pretty big challenges, and for you it's like feeling like you lose your identity. You've moved, you lose your community, your professional career changes, right?
Yeah.
And to then feel like you have to start all over again in so many different ways, like that can affect you on some pretty deep levels. Like how was that for you in the beginning?
Yeah, it was really hard. And I can honestly say, like in the beginning, when you think you're gonna start something new because you've been searching for so long or wanting to do something different, it's exciting to be like, I'm gonna go on this journey and I'm gonna start something new, until you get into it. And when you
Yeah.
and then it really hit like reality sets in and you're like, oh wow, this is not as easy as I thought it would be, especially because after 20, I was doing my career for 20 years. And when you do something for so long, even though it didn't feel right, once you lose that part, then I felt like, now what do I have?
Man, that's prophetic, by the way. When you do something for so long, even though you know it wasn't right, when it's gone, it still doesn't feel good.
Yeah. So it's like, well, now what? Like I knew that it wasn't right for me, but then now I've left it and now I don't have that and I feel lost.
Mm,
So now I'm stuck in this place of, well, I didn't want that, and now I don't have it, and I'm even feeling worse now, right?
mm.
So you get to this like dark, low place. And especially it was even harder because moving to the United States, even though Canada and US are so similar, and I grew
Yeah.
up coming, my family is here, my extended family is here in the States, and I grew up coming here a lot. But when I came here on my husband's spousal visa, I technically couldn't work. So it's not like I could go out and get a job and like do something for myself. So I
Mm.
couldn't even get my own credit card. I couldn't have a bank account under my own name. I didn't have a social
Wow.
security number. So I literally felt like I had no identity. So on top of
Wow.
losing my career, I I really like literally did not have an identity. And so it was going from I was my own, independent businesswoman to I was completely dependent on my husband. And yeah, I felt like I hit rock bottom with like I don't even know what to do with my life. And that's when I started searching out for community because I'm like I was grasping at anything because I was like I need something. I don't have a support system other than my husband, which is great, but I mean, he can't be all of that for me, right? That's too much
Yes.
pressure for him. So I needed to search for what I was looking for. And I didn't know what that was, but I was just like, I'm just going to immerse myself in all these different communities and one of them will stick. I'm going to find some people that I'm going to find my people. And I did, but I ended up finding a group out of Arizona. I wasn't even in Colorado. That really helped me through. I met some of my close friends that I'm close friends with now, who I just learned from that that is what I needed in order to get me out of my hole, to make me
Mm.
help me find myself again. Um, I had mentors that were helping me with working on myself because for so long I was just achieving on this level of this surface level of like I need to achieve in business, but not really working on myself.
Mm-hmm.
So once it's doing that kind of work to work on myself is what I really needed to do to find my identity again, to find me again in order to do what I'm doing now. And I don't think I could have done that in that place that I was in.
Oh, sure. I can only imagine, because then you'd be repeating the same pattern of just achieving for the sake of achieving, and then like feeling empty inside again, right?
Yeah.
Like, and I love the fact that you speak about mentors and healing and all of those things, because that's so, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter how successful we are. It doesn't matter where we are in the world, what position we have, whether it's wife or mother or high level C-suite, corporate professional or international healer, or whatever it is. Like, we all are here to grow. So many times we become off balance because we seek to grow outwardly, right? And then we have no roots. We don't know who we are. We don't know what's inside of our own selves and our own substance. And it's so easy for many people, and I don't know if you resonate with this or not, but some people change their location or change their identities frequently because it's hard to maintain consistent, deeper relationships, more intimate relationships.
Mm.
And but it seems like you went the opposite direction, where you were just like, no, listen, I need deep relationships. I need depth. I need substance.
Yeah. Well, it's funny you say that because at the beginning, I actually didn't know what I needed. It's
Mm,
not until I found it that I was like, ooh, I needed those deep connections. I needed the mentors. I needed to do the healing. I did not know I needed that because I was so outside of myself that I didn't know what I needed. So actually, when I set out to find my first coach, um, it was because I was feeling stuck in my business, like starting from scratch, doing a whole new business. Like I ended up going into network marketing because I was like, I need to do something at home. My babies were small,
yeah.
and um, and it was something foreign to me because I was working, brick and mortar real
Yeah.
estate business, and now I'm like, okay, I'm going to work from home and do this online stuff. Um, but what I thought I needed more education and more business strategies. So I thought I was hiring a business coach,
Yeah.
which she did help me in that, but essentially what she helped me with was what I did not know I needed. So
Mm,
she's the one who, my very first coach was the one who exposed me to a lot of deep inner work, a lot of inner child work. She's the
mm,
one who got me into meditating. She's the one who we just did so like breath work. She exposed me to all that stuff that I didn't even know I needed. And so when I got into, I was like, oh my, I didn't even know we were working on a lot of stuff. Like I didn't know I'd be crying on every call. I would get out of my office after each call, and my husband thought I was hired a business coach. So every time I would get out with all this Kleenex and I'd be crying, he's like, what is happening in there?
I'm crying over spreadsheets. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Like who knew we would talk about like my mother wounds, right? On the calls.
Yeah, but isn't that interesting, right? And I love the fact that you were open to it, because a lot of times people, as soon as they start to see that coming down the pike, they're like, oh, no, 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 no. Right. Let me just keep that locked down tight. I don't want to open that up. I don't want to have to rehash that. I don't want to have to. And it sounds like you just had a really great coach who knew exactly how to approach it and was probably really skilled at what they were doing.
Yeah.
Um, so just what an eye opener. What an absolute eye opener for you. And it just seems like I can't even imagine, if I were to have met you then, who we would have been together, right? But like meeting you now, it's like you're effervescent,
Oh,
right?
yeah. I know. I feel like I've been cracked open. Um,
Mm,
yeah, definitely has changed my life in so many ways that I did not know. Yeah, I don't even have words to explain because I didn't know
mm,
it. And now I'm like, thank goodness I found that in
mhm,
order for me to really excel and do things in business now out of what feels aligned and what feels right, as opposed to I'm just doing it for the money. It feels
right.
completely different. And now, even though I'm not making as much as I was making before,
Mhm.
because I'm starting out again, I am so much more fulfilled and
Yeah.
happy and don't feel like something's missing this time. Whereas I felt that void when I was making all that money.
Yeah, that emptiness is something that I know pretty well too, right? And so
Mhm.
um, we think that all we need to do is just work a little harder, effort a little bit more, spend a little more time in that one particular area, and we become more and more off balance. And
Mhm.
so, and that's not really the law, the universal law of energy exchange, right?
Mhm.
And it also isn't true abundance. So now you're far more abundant in your life and in your vessel than you ever have been, from what it
Yeah,
sounds like, right?
100%. And I think what I've learned too is that it's like a lifelong journey or work that I'm going to have to be doing on myself because of all that
Mm.
conditioning. And so I think even when I first started, I would think, okay, well, there's like an end goal and like I'm going to fix everything and then everything's going to be great. And like I'm
Yeah.
just slowly learning that that's not the case. I'm just going to have to keep, unlearning and, unbecoming all these things that are conditioned. That's why I love the inner work. Like I love working with healers. I love different modalities. I just know that there's so many different. I haven't even tried all of them, and I
Yeah.
just know there's like a big wide world out there of different ways to heal, and I'm so
Mhm.
excited to just go on this journey of healing for life, because even when at every growth stage that I'm in, I'm always like, oh, well, there's that I need to work on, like that I didn't realize was there, but it's exciting
Yeah.
now of finding all these different things and learning now of when I feel stuck, let's say, I know now, okay, well, this is something I need to work on. And what is it now? And getting curious about it. Whereas before, I just, you know, I didn't know how to work on it. Um,
Mhm. Mhm.
so it's exciting. And those people who say it's about the journey, not the destination, I'd always be like, that's like so cliche. Like,
Exactly. Yeah.
what do you mean? But now that I'm in it and feel aligned and feel fulfilled, I truly actually know what that true meaning of that statement
Yeah.
is. And I really am enjoying the journey.
Well, and that's really what it's all about, right? And so I love the fact that you have recognized, and you recognized very early on, that there's no finish line to anything, right? And so, but we can celebrate all of the accomplishments along the way, and we
Mhm.
can celebrate our state of beingness, and sometimes even in the discomfort of things, because it's part of the dance,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And there's, I find that there are people that feel like they're perfectly aligned when they've completely removed themselves from reality, and they're like living in this kind of like fantasy land, and but then are devastated when they actually have to face some of the, you know real life, present day, like embodied experiences that we're here to experience, right? And so they have this like judgment on, like, so when things are painful, that's bad, and when things are, pleasurable or blissful, that's good, right? And it's like, no, all things are good,
Yeah.
right? All things we can greet with joy. Like, I remember when I was giving birth to my first, and so my first is 25 years old. I'm dating myself, but like, I was just so excited about the prospect of becoming a mother, and I was just in my mind just so ready for the entire thing, that like, even when the contractions were really painful, I was smiling, because I was like, because this is my journey of becoming a mother. And the doctor kept coming in, and she was like, "Oh, you're not ready yet." And I was like, "No, I'm like, I'm ready." Right. And
Yeah.
she was like, "No, because you're not grimacing, you're not miserable, you're not angry, you're not yelling at people, you're not." And I was just like, "Oh, well, oh, okay." So I thought, like, for a minute, I was like, "Oh, I must not be ready then." Right.
Yeah.
But trust me, I didn't always have a smile on my face, but like, not just in the birthing process, but just like in general being a mother.
Yeah.
But um, but but the point is like, when you can accept the fact that, like, we just need to be consistent in showing up, and that the bandwidth that we have, that's required of us in those moments, doesn't always have to be the same, right? We don't always have to do heavy lifts all the time. We don't always have to go super deep all the time, but just if we keep showing up, and maybe today it's about just, you know, talking about what it feels like to just be whole, right? And then the next time you might actually talk about a barrier that you were experiencing or whatever. But I just, and that's the thing that I think is really unique and very special about how you're showing up with the platforms that you're offering and the different kind of, we'll call them portals, right? Like portals for women to walk through in their own way to find their just right spot.
Mm-hmm.
So it definitely is, you make it look easy, but I know it's not that easy, right? Because there's a lot of intentionality that's come into play. So you have a podcast, which I can't wait to be part of, and which you have some incredible guests on there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And tell me a little bit more about we started talking about it before we started recording, but the fact that like why you started the podcast.
Yeah. So this is such an interesting story. I was just sharing this with someone else too, but I do have a podcast called Pivot to Passion, which I really wanted to share my journey on how I was searching for my purpose or my passion for so long and did not know what that was. And I know how frustrating that is. And then what I went through, like the journey that I went through to actually discover that it was inside me all along. And now that I live, what I feel aligned with and all the fulfillment, what that entails too. And so it's funny because if you asked me a few years ago, I would have said I would never do a podcast because I told myself stories that I wasn't a good speaker, that my grammar was poor, that I fumble on my words, that I'm not consistent, where I could never bust out an episode a week, and I would feel too pressured. So I would never start one. So what I did was when I started my journey on social media, I still wanted to get anything I learn, like part of my purpose I find in my passion is that I'm a teacher and that anything that I learn, I want to teach that to somebody else.
You're very generous with that. You're so generous with that.
Thank you. But I just feel like, oh my God, when I discover something that maybe some people have known for years, I'm always like, why didn't anybody tell me? I need to tell everybody else. And that happened with my divorce. That happened with, my career, all the things. So I started these like Instagram lives. They were called Mindset Thursdays. And I would jump on live on Thursday and I would just share. I would have guests on too. And I would just share anything I learned that my coach was teaching me and things like that. And then I was like, you know what? Instagram live is good, but it's like I realized some people were like, well, I don't have time to like sit and watch these all the time. And a podcast is something where people can listen to it while they're multitasking or they're driving or they're cleaning their house. It's a lot easier to take in and they can listen to it anytime and it lives on there forever. And I thought of my children and like I have a stack of journals. Like, I don't know if, what's going to happen to those. Are they really going to read all my journals? Or can there just be this recorded episodes where even my children could find them and learn from them as well? And so I had a thought of like, maybe I should do one, even though I had that fear that I couldn't. But what happens when you surround yourself around expanders and I've built this community full of such diverse women who do so many different things. Some of them are podcasting. I would say to them like, I'm thinking of maybe starting a podcast down the road. When you say like down the road, I'll do it. But when you surround yourself around expanders, they're like, why would you do it down the road? Why don't you just do it now?
I know. They call you right out.
Yeah. So I'm like, oh, she's like, I can help you do it in like 4 weeks. And I'm like, oh, okay, this is happening. And that's how it happened. It was something that I thought I was never going to do to I'll do it down the road to we're doing it in 4 weeks. And I did not know once we started that I would love it so much. You don't know until you actually try it. It could have gone 2 ways. And if I didn't like it, I'm now into pivoting. Like I've pivoted so much and know that if it doesn't work, I'm just going to pivot. And and so I love it. It's like fuels my fire. I have no problems busting out episodes because I just love doing it so much. So that's how that started. And so I just love having this platform out there where it can impact so many people in helping them discovering what feels aligned for them. We do like mindset things, but we also I interview a lot of entrepreneurs just like you do to help discover how they pivoted to into what they're doing,
Mm-hmm.
what's aligned for them, so that it can help give that roadmap to people to
Mm-hmm.
help them discover their path.
Yeah, because not everybody is surrounded with go-getters and visionaries and people who are walking the path.
Mhm.
Some are living in very oppressed areas or are really surrounded by people who are committed to not understanding them or helping them in some way. And
Yeah.
so that's the beauty of things like social media and podcasts and the like, because you really have access to anyone and anything. And I know that can be a little scary for some people, but if we use it in the way that it's intended, it's such a wonderful tool to connect. And I get a lot of feedback regarding my podcast and the people that I have on my podcast and the discussions, and just the way that, like, even I open up about some of my story, which people don't normally get to hear because I'm usually helping other people to heal. So it's not about me, it's about them, right? And so yeah, it's such a beautiful experience. And I love that you use that as a vehicle and a tool. And I love that you didn't resist your community too much and getting it out there. But since then you have started local events, networking, and community in Denver. And now you're starting a mastermind. I guess you've done the mastermind before, but it seems like you've scaled it a little bit, correct?
So I haven't done a full on like year-long mastermind before. I've been a part of many masterminds. I
Okay.
When I started immersing myself and investing myself, I did masterminds to really learn what worked for me, what didn't, and to bring that to life and put all those pieces into this mastermind, which was
Hmm.
a lot of yes, we will also help and support women in building their businesses. And that's the whole point of a mastermind, of gathering all the minds together. But I think a big piece of, even with the communities and the workshops that we do in local communities, I do like to focus a lot on personal development because that's really what has helped me in my
Mm-hmm.
growth.
Mm-hmm.
And so this mastermind is called the Inner Circle, where we do a lot of inner work. Where
I
sure, we're going
love
to
it.
work on your business, but we're going to be doing so many modalities. There's 2 retreats, one in Aspen, Colorado, of really immersive, like doing the work,
Mm-hmm.
um, in helping them find themselves, getting clear with who they truly are, to figure out their purpose, their passion, and then I guess removing blocks on like, why we do the things we do, like the patterns that we do in order to, because they have all these big ideas, but why aren't they doing them?
Right.
Right.
Right. Right.
And I'm very excited to say that I'm bringing in so many different facilitators that are experts in their field. And that's why I cannot wait for you to be a part of
Um,
this journey and being a part of the retreats to help them with your magic and what you do in your healing. And so there's a lot of healing work, there's a
mm.
lot of energy work, there's a lot of just, oh, just so good to break people out into their shells. Give them what I didn't know what I needed and what they don't know they need.
Right, but I love the fact that you're doing it in such an intentional way, and the fact that it's like it's to support these women entrepreneurs and help them with business. But many people, listen, if you think you know what you need, then you don't know what you need. Right. So, but if you go in open and you just say, listen, I know what I'd like. I know that there's something that is beyond where I am, but I have no idea. I'm surrendering. I'm just surrendering. I have no idea how to get there, but I know that if I just show up and I participate, that I'm going to be a better person. So the fact that this is almost a year-long mastermind, and I'm thrilled, first of all, to be part of it, and I can't wait to help in whatever capacities we're able to create a match with. And but I'm so excited for the individuals who are going to be joining on this journey, because they're going to be just more.
Yeah.
They're great when they start, but they're going to just be more of all
Mhm.
of their greatness. And that we
Yes.
need that. We
Yeah.
need that. Such a wonderful way to serve.
Yes. I know. I'm so excited every time I talk to a woman who's kind of thinking about going in, it's the same story I hear, and this is where I was at too, where it's like I have so many ideas. I have all these big ideas, but I feel overwhelmed on where to start, or I can't start because of XYZ, or I
Yeah.
just can see, I'm like, ooh, well, wait till you're done with us, because you're gonna come out and all your ideas are gonna come to life.
It's so good to help and to see other people shine, isn't
Yeah.
it?
Yeah.
And that's the type of person that I want to surround myself with. And that's also it potentially, we learn so much in community and in relationship. I think that many of us, and what we've learned too, especially post pandemic, is that how much we didn't take advantage of with our connections in communities and relationships, and how much we actually were at such a deficit when we didn't have it. And
Mhm.
now we get to go into it with fresh eyes and new intentionality, and really allow ourselves to work through some of our own, like you said, barriers, or um, lack of safety, lack of comfort in community. Because personally speaking, I love being with people. I love connecting with people. Um, and it's also sometimes challenging for me, right? Because of the old stories that I was programmed with, that I've deconstructed and I know are part of what my truth are, but you really don't get to embody that and practice that until you're in the act of it,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
So you're creating all these wonderful, juicy dynamics for people that it's just going to be transformational just by being in that space and continuing to show up. So,
Yeah.
but you're going way beyond that in what
I'm
you're
so
doing.
excited.
Yeah. Any other good news or anything else you wanted to share? I just feel like there's so many different directions, and you have so many different ways that you're helping to serve right now. What's on your heart?
Yeah, I just like to help women at no matter what stage they're at, in helping them with their business or helping them wherever they feel stuck, whether that's in their personal life or their business. And so I like to create different avenues for women. So yes, the mastermind is for, a smaller container of women that's more intimate. But for the woman who's just starting out, that's why I started the podcast, is because that's how when I first moved to Denver and I didn't have community and I was starting from scratch, I was like, well, I'm just going to start listening to some entrepreneurial podcasts. That's where I started too. And so the podcast is one of them, but also like our local communities of, we have workshops and we have brunches and we have the gala, and it's all like fun things where they can come network and build relationships with women, but also learn in their personal growth, because
Mm,
the workshops are all personal growth or business strategies. It's like the two things that have to be go two and two together, because you can't have one without the other.
yeah.
Um, but then now I'm really excited that a lot of women have asked me who don't live in Colorado, and they say, I wish I had something like this that I could go to. And I always say, well, if you don't find it, you're going to have to go elsewhere to find it, or you're going to have to create it
That's right.
yourself, which is what I had to do. But also, I started after we came out of the pandemic, so I was kind of over Zoom calls at the time. So that's why I
Mhm.
created a lot of in-person events. But now we're going to be opening up Zoom calls again for the woman who does not live in Colorado, who really
Yeah.
wants to immerse herself in community. And it's a good way of starting, because so many women have told me, I'm afraid to come to in-person events. I'm afraid to
Yeah.
come to a group where I don't know anybody. And that's a
Yes.
common thing. And so I think these Zoom calls are a good starting point of like immersing yourself
Mhm.
and like meeting women over the computer first. And I'm going to be serving women that don't live here and that can't get to an event, and helping them with workshops online. And
Amazing.
so I'm really excited about that. So we're going to be starting that. And
I love
yeah,
that.
so there's just so many different, like you said, so many portals that they
Yeah.
could come in and get support.
I love that. I just love your heart. I love how you serve. I love how you show up. Um, And as busy as you were, I was like, Kristine, do you think we could like get a cup of coffee or like a little bite to eat or something? You're like, sure. You had this huge event coming up or whatever. You're just like, sure. And we were able to, it was so lovely. I mean, you're just, that's one of the things that is important to me and that I'm very intentional about it, which is presence. And you are present everywhere you go. You're just very, very much there and connecting. And, the world is a better place with you in it. That's for sure. We're really, really lucky for you and all of the things that you're doing. And I'm just really excited. I can't wait for people to hear this podcast because I hope that they reach out to you so that they can connect. And you are truly a super connector as well. And that's so invaluable. So how can they get a hold of you? What's the best way?
Yeah, so I am always on Instagram. I love hanging out there. So you can find me at Kristine K. Munro on Instagram, but I also have the Pivot to Passion podcast, which is on Instagram as well, and the Pivot to Passion podcast. And then the community here in Denver is called Illume Collective. For illuminating the fire within. We just rebranded. I'm really excited about that too.
I loved that. I was so happy I was there for that. Yeah.
And so, yeah, illumecollective.co is on Instagram as well.
Yeah. And so they can then follow the links for on your bios for all of the different events that you're having and like the Mastermind. Yes. And is the Mastermind location specific or no?
So no, the calls are going to be the calls are going to be virtual so that it's not just for people of Colorado, but the retreats will be in Colorado. So the retreats will be in a mountain town in Colorado, and the last retreat will be in Aspen, Colorado, because I'm all about expansion. And so why not do the top of the top of
that's right.
retreats in Aspen.
Colorado is such a beautiful state. I'm enjoying Colorado so much. So,
and we enjoy you. Yes, I love it when you show up. I love that we met and that we got connected. I think a big part of feeling aligned and being aligned is like I have attracted so many wonderful people in my life that are meant to be. And I cannot wait to have you on the show next week. And I cannot wait till bring you to the community, which you have come, but also to the retreats that we're doing as well.
Oh, I can't wait. I'm so excited and thank you so much. And it's wonderful synergy. That's for sure. Well, Kristine, this has been such a great conversation. The time flew by and I will make sure that we place all of the links to be able to access Kristine, and she's very interactive. So please make sure that if you have any questions, you have any comments, any feedback, we love them. And she will make sure that she responds back to you. I will make sure that I respond back to you if you have any questions for me. And anyone who is just landing on this podcast for the first time, please make sure that you also click the link to join my community, which is a free community where I just send lots of great information, education, and also about my upcoming book, The Healer's Journey, which is coming out in hopefully March. So thank you again. Thank you for coming. And to everybody who's listened, thank you for sticking with us. Lots of peace and love to you. And until the next time, take care.